Call to order on July 7th, 2022, Citizens Advisory Board meeting. As we go down our agenda, we don't have minutes. Justin is still being so kind as to video record these meetings, and on the website under the Citizens Advisory Board, you could use our past meetings. First thing on our agenda is our guest for today, Deb Flora. She is the Executive Director of the Land Reutilization Corporation, otherwise known as the Land Bank of Mahoney County. Deb does a lot with some of us that work with her. We're a small staff of about 6 to 7. We have her here today to talk about the powers of her organization, the goals of her organization, and she could brag a little bit about some of her past accomplishments. Deb, you have the floor.
Thank you. Should I be over there? Yeah. Okay. I'm really impressed on this beautiful evening in the summer that you all want to talk about the good of our community. So, but I'm also not going to let me stand in the way of you getting some fresh air, right, while it's still daylight. I will breeze through this as much as I can, and certainly want to answer any questions that you may have. Just that second. It's complicated with my glasses. All right. Thank you. I think a lot of you already know it, and I don't want to spend time on things that I think are known. I'd rather talk about the direction the Land Bank is headed. But Land Bank is a quasi-governmental organization to work on the revitalization of vacant abandoned property, and that takes many forms, as we're going to discuss this evening. This month marks my 10th year as the Executive Director of the Land Bank, and we've grown quite a bit in those 10 years. If there is anything that I think the Land Bank is recognized for, and I mean Mahoney County Land Bank, it is either our side lot program or the residential demolition work that we have done. But I'll breeze through that and talk just a little bit more about some of our other programs: residential redevelopment, commercial property revitalization, and brownfields remediation. And along the way, I'll be talking about our wonderful partners who help us to make those things happen. So side lots, very quickly and cleanly. If you live next door to a property, a vacant lot, and the owner hasn't been taking care of it and you'd like to expand your yard, then there's a pathway to do that through Mahoney County Land Bank. Land assembly is something that we did a little bit throughout our now 11-year history, but it's something that seems to be on the increase. And that's where we have a string of vacant and abandoned properties. And when they can be acquired and brought together, then it opens up other possibilities for development. Some of the parcels, especially in Youngstown, were carved out in such small pieces a long time ago that they don't have great function alone, but when you put a string of them together, it can make quite a difference. And so these are kind of some of the cornerstones of what the Land Bank works on. And we really became known for residential demolition based on some funding that became available through county land banks in the last decade. So no county is required to start a land bank. They elect to do so. And as of right now, 64 of 88 Ohio counties have elected to start a land bank program. Of the 64, 53 of them are members of the Ohio Land Bank Association, of which I'm on the board of directors. And it has been the collective power of the county land banks, our numbers and our mutual interests, that have enabled us to open some doors toward funding to make some things happen. So the first opportunity was 2012 to 2014. That's when now Governor DeWine was Attorney General DeWine, and he redirected some of the mortgage settlement funds toward the demolition needs in Ohio's cities and towns and townships. And so that led to a little more than $3 million of money coming into Mahoney County, and working with Youngstown, Boardman, and other local governments. We had about 307 properties that were demolished in that program. And these are all reimbursement awards to date. So we have to spend the dollars locally and then receive it back through the state. Not too long after that program ended came the Neighborhood Initiative Program, where hardest hit money, Ohio being one of 19 hardest hit states in that mortgage foreclosure situation, had some special funds, and those funds were initially meant to keep people in their homes, but there were some complications there. The money didn't hit the street fast enough, and where some of the damage was done because people abandoned houses, it was repurposed then into trying to shore up those neighborhoods through necessary demolition and some beautification work. And so that was a big deal in Mahoney County because in installments, we ended up becoming eligible for $15 million worth of funding. And that took us to 15 communities and a total of 1,106 demolitions accomplished. We are now waiting for the Ohio Department of Development to give us final word on another application. This would be $9.5 million in assistance to do about 800 more demolitions. Here's the significant point. If this comes through, and I hope that it does in the next 1 to 2 months, the idea that Youngstown no longer has a backlog of vacant, abandoned, so beat up you can't fix it up anymore housing, that backlog is essentially gone with this award. It becomes so much more manageable at the city level and enables the city to redirect its own resources to other needs, and we know we have a lot of them in Youngstown. So very hopeful that that announcement will be made before this summer is over. So here are some of the things that we don't like to just tear them down. We like to build them up too. And these are some of the things that have had maybe some attention, but might not be on your radar as much as those other activities. First of all, the idea that we have housing that should be fixed up, can be livable, can be a good standard of living and affordable and such, right? So we're working on that in 2 methods. Number one, our wonderful partners at YNDC made a proposal to us long ago that worked then, still works now, and it's really simple at the core of it. If we acquire a house, it still has good bones and can be renovated, we can transfer it to YNDC. They have staff and revenue to put into that renovation. They also have staff to market and sell the property. If they sell that property, recapture what they invested in it by way of the work, and there is income left over from that, it's divided evenly between the land bank and YNDC. Sometimes it results in no income coming to either of our entities because that property needed that much work or the market didn't bear a sale that was in excess of what was spent. But we've still both met our mission, and that's invaluable. However, it does result in some proceeds for both organizations to continue this very important work. And so we're very proud of that ongoing relationship. We also have our own version of a DIY program where we acquire a house that we don't think should be demolished, but it is going to need some investment. And we ensure that that investment goes into the property by having a professional inspection done, by posting that as we advertise the availability of that property, and making an owner understand, a future owner understand, they're on the hook for those repairs, and they will not become the owner of that property until those repairs are made and the same inspector who generated the report comes back and assures that the work meets the standard, the necessary standard. So we're not enabling unproductive speculation, as we like to call it, the flip where somebody buys low and sells high. That's not happening here. These houses, these properties in the end are quality. They're worthy of someone living in them and having a good, safe environment. We're proud of that program also. These are some pictures from our most recent partnership with YNDC. This actually took them out of Youngstown, oddly, into Austintown. But this was a house. This is, if you go on Berkey Road and you're going to turn into the Austintown Schools complex from Berkey, this is directly across the street. This house was empty for about 15 years. And It had gone through tax foreclosure. Nobody bid on it. Despite the way the market is right now, nobody bid on it. It became ours about a year ago, not even a year ago. And we happened to ask YNDC at the right time, hey, do you think you could take on this rehab even though it's not in the city? They were going to be between two city projects, and they were willing to have their crew go to Austin Town. The kitchen is an example of the typical standard of YNDC renovations. They're move-in ready by the time they're done. So this was a market transaction that sold quickly. YNDC recaptured everything it spent on the renovation, and there was revenue for both programs in the end. So it was a good outcome. One of many. We've done dozens of these with YNDC. Now let's talk a little bit on the commercial side of things. Commercial property revitalization, or CPR for short, is actually the name of a program that is affiliated with the Economic Action Group. So this is city specific to Youngstown and Warren, and the program is housed within the Western Reserve Port Authority. And it is an effort to look at the commercial revitalization needs in the cities and especially along corridors. So we have been, there's a board and I'm on that board also. So we've been looking for opportunities in both cities, and it's a little bit more weighted toward Youngstown right now, but I know we're trying to balance those scales as well. So that in addition to the efforts of the city of Youngstown and the city of Warren and others, that we can add another layer to the need to revitalize properties so that we're right place, right time with bringing in small businesses, medium-sized businesses, whatever it may be. So that's one side of CPR. Another side is that we did expand our YNDC partnership to include commercial properties. And the first one that we undertook was an abandoned garage on Bears Den Road near Industrial Road. YNDC did a great job of renovating that, and that was sold to a local construction company, and it's now their garage and their yard for their activities. Here's another example of CPR. It really was only this spring, wasn't it, Kevin, that we transferred the Clark Bar to the Port Authority for renovation. Yeah, so the Clark Bar, this is near Mahoning Plaza. As you're closer to Mahoning and Meridian, and you know where the Mahoning Plaza is, same side of the street as the plaza, and just a block away from it. And the Clark Bar had operated for a long time until recent years when the owner experienced some health issues and wasn't able to operate any longer. And it did fall into tax delinquency. It had been advertised for a sheriff's sale. It did not receive any bids. At that point, we used our powers as the land bank to get title to the property after sheriff's sale because it was forfeited at that point to the state of Ohio. We were able to get clear title to the property. Only a county land bank can do that in that space between a sheriff's sale and an auditor's sale. And we were able to turn it over to the Port Authority. So what you see in this picture is a combination of retail on the bottom and residential on the top. There were 2 apartments on the top. And so the Port Authority has the discretion now. They may continue with the same model, retail on the bottom, residential on the top. Last I knew that was the development strategy, but they may have a different idea as the construction goes along.
We eliminated the indoor waterfall.
Yes, that's what's pictured on the right. That's part of what they got when we turned the keys over to them. Yeah, there definitely were some water issues there, and that's what happens as properties are in a state of abandonment. The longer they're in that state, as Ray knows, because he's seen enough of them. You know, bad things happen if nobody's there to respond to a broken water pipe. A small problem becomes a larger problem. And quite literally, that's what has driven a lot of properties just off the cliff where demolition is the only remaining option because the cost to renovate after a long period of abandonment, when issue upon issue builds up, just becomes, it's not manageable anymore. But this was one that hadn't been out there abandoned for too terribly long, and there was still time. And I look forward to what the Port Authority will do with that property, sitting right there on Mahoning Avenue near a major intersection. Most recently, and again, based on the collective strength of county land banks around the state of Ohio, we have been in conversation with the state legislature and with state level departments about how they can help us to further enhance revitalization in many communities in Ohio, right? And so we have been recently informed by the Ohio Department of Development that we will be receiving state support for brownfields work. And these are the 4 awards that we have been notified of to date. The first is 20 Federal Place, the old Strauss building, the old Farmore Center, however you may know it. And we know from a number of news reports that the city is reimagining 20 Federal Place to be a different type of downtown anchor, one that has a combination of office space and the amenities that would bring people downtown as an attraction, whether it adds to them going to the amphitheater or whether it is the reason they come downtown, an open air market and things of that nature. It's a very ambitious reimagining of how the building can enhance downtown living. And we're kicking it off with ODOD's award of about $6.9 million to address remediation needs in the building, asbestos, lead, other contaminants. This was a city/land bank application to the Department of Development. And no matter what the future of the building holds, nothing was going to be possible without the lead and asbestos and other contaminants being dealt with as soon as possible. So as soon as possible is now right in front of us. It is wonderful to say that we were able to do this in our partnership. Another project that's very important to the land bank is the former Royal Sebring China site in Sebring, downtown Sebring, right? Not on the edge of town, but right in the heart of small Sebring. Royal Sebring China was the flagship of many pottery makers in Sebring for a long time. And very similar to the Youngstown story of the rise and fall of industry. Here it was steel, in Sebring it was pottery. That property, the buildings are gone, but the soil is contaminated. 2,300 tons of contaminated soil need to be removed from that site so that that property has a future. And at 20 acres of contiguous property, that property should have a future for development. So again, with ODOD's help, we have a $1.4 million grant to address those concerns. There are required 25% matches on each of these grants. By the way, the city of Youngstown is providing the required match for 20 Federal Place. Mahoney County Commissioners and the current property owner, who was not responsible for the contamination on site in Sebring, made the 25% match possible as well on that application, which made it further enhanced our success rate at landing these dollars. Mahoney County Land Bank also owns 2 smaller properties that are technically considered brownfields under this program because we have interior conditions where asbestos has fallen because of collapsing ceilings and has contaminated other things in the building. They have to be live loaded out. Everything is going to have to go into special bins and go to a special landfill because of the asbestos contamination. So even though these are smaller projects in comparison, $200,000 and $110,000 each, they still qualified for brownfields funding, and we took advantage of that and applied for those funds. City of Youngstown provides the 25% match on those also. Both of those properties, by virtue of their locations, are also ripe for redevelopment. The West Woodland property is behind the old General Electric site at the top of the Market Street Bridge where Woodland intersects. So it could piggyback on the redevelopment of that. And Market Street, where many of us are aware that WRTA is undertaking a TOD study about development from Market Street from the bridge all the way out to Boardman. So anything that we can do to enhance the future of Market Street is money well spent, in my opinion. So this is just a glimpse of the Royal Sebring China site. I told you this was important to Mahoney County and for many reasons. The property was severely tax delinquent, like way over $100,000. Its last owner who probably was a bit speculative in what he wanted to do there, racked up a pretty good tax bill. And there was a Clean Ohio grant that Sebring could have had in 2006 that ultimately they could not use because that property owner failed to provide that required match. So fast forward to 2020, the county treasurer, Dan Yema's on the right there. He's got this huge tax delinquency that he must address to be a responsible county official, and works through the village of Sebring officials and the Mahoning County Prosecutor's Office and the commissioners. They all agree, we've got to do a tax foreclosure here. We have to figure out a path forward. It went no bid at sheriff's sale, and the path forward became passing it through the land bank to the new owner, Michael Connie, who's at left in that photo. He is the owner of a trailer manufacturing and repair company. He has 1,200 employees in 5 states, but 1,000 of them are working out of Mahoning and Stark counties. And he saw an opportunity there to do something, first of all, for his hometown, because he was born in Sebring, and an opportunity perhaps that his own company might use that 20 acres for further development. And if not that, he wanted to ensure that he was bringing good jobs, paying jobs back into Sebring. So this grant is pivotal to all of those things happening. It's all coming together nicely now in the last 2 years and represents a multifaceted partnership that I think is what we've always wanted to see in a number of projects, and proof that it can happen. It takes a lot of coordination and people being in the same place, but it does happen. There's your example of it. So what does all of this add up to? There are many bullet points. I only have 5 on here as illustrations. Without us soliciting any sort of attention, both the fire chiefs in Youngstown and Camel have said, our arsons are down because we don't have the same number of empty buildings anymore. We don't have calls to buildings where people are being mischievous or disruptive or destructive, whatever it may be. So there's a cost savings to communities when the arson reports are down in association with vacant properties. YNDC has sold more than 100 houses in the city of Youngstown that they have repaired, where we have been their source of finding and acquiring those properties with all of the liens cleared away and such. And that was before the pandemic. We know that now the housing market is stronger for many reasons, not the least of which is the fact that we have fewer houses in the city and the quality of housing is going up, right? So there's an association there with the value of housing also. So we're happy to be our YND's partner in that regard also. We've had dozens of properties go through our DIY program, and we look forward to we have 2 under contract right now, so we look forward to perpetuating that program. We've had more than $33 million in economic activity that the land bank has added locally in our first 10 years. I think that we'll be able to achieve that number in far less than 10 years with the ODOD grants that are awarded and are still pending. And again, as I already said, we're looking at the finish line when it comes to eliminating the backlog of bad, vacant, abandoned housing in the city of Youngstown. It dragged down the city in so many ways. And to be able to say now that we're looking at the finish line is an achievement for the city and everybody who's had a role in bringing that number down. So thank you for the time to present that to you. And there is one other map, and do I have the access to that also, Justin? Is that the other tab? Not the tab.
Yeah, you get it.
Right here?
Yep.
Okay. Kevin thought that I should show you a bit. Mahoning County Land Bank tries to acquire properties strategically. And in the case of that one demo program, the Neighborhood Initiative Program, we actually had to have ownership and control of the properties that we intended to demolish with the NIP money. So for that reason, you see some blue on this map, right? And this is just the city of Youngstown. The blue indicates where Mahoning County Land Bank is now a property owner in the city. Yellow is the city of Youngstown itself, and orange is the city of Youngstown Land Bank. So this becomes, in one way, a kind of the connect the dots scenario, right? where we have three entities that are holding properties, and the entities need to talk about, well, what can we do then to make some of these things stronger? Which land bank goes after some of the other properties that may be nearby that may also have the signs of abandonment, so that we can add to those holdings and create other larger pieces of property that open itself up to new opportunities and new possibilities. So you see a couple areas where there's quite a bit of blue, right? If you look, I'm going to point right now. Over here, all right? So there was a significant amount of property, land assembly happening over there for some proposed manufacturing projects, one of which did not materialize. And nonetheless, the land bank does not have any regrets about having done that, because that is still an area where there's good transportation opportunities. The access to freeways and such is strong. And we know that the land assembly will still bear fruit. We wish it would have borne fruit sooner, didn't, but it's still going to. I'm very positive about that. And so over on this side, this is the Himrod Expressway, right? And so all of this over here, that was another place where we said, let's take a chance. There's a lot of abandonment here, a lot of tax delinquency and such, and very little improvement. There, the few houses that remained there, I think between the city and the land bank, they're largely gone now. Might be just 2 or 3 left.
There's still there.
Augusta Market is still there. Pesh Bakery is still there.
The bakery, yeah. Well, the bake, I think that's owned by Sparrows.
I think you're right too. Yes. Yeah. So you have a little bit of operating business. It's really not a residential neighborhood anymore. And so now, we are talking to the city about interested parties who think that there are some redevelopment uses because we have control of the land. And Hunter talks about this all the time. If you have control of the land, then you have more near-term outcomes than you do long-term. And we need some near-term outcomes. So, yeah, I'll stop there. If you want to ask questions about any other concentrations you see on that map or anything else I said, I'd be happy to answer questions. But again, I appreciate the time to be with all of you and talk about what the land bank can do, and also hear your ideas today or tomorrow about what you think we should be doing. So thank you.
We did have one question from the chat. It was from Peter Milliken.
Hello, Pete.
What is the land bank's policy on demolition, debris removal, and tree planting?
Hi, Deb.
Hi, Pete. Great question. So with the last, let me back up a minute. First of all, our board of directors made a decision with the first demolition grant that we managed here to completely remove foundations. It has not been the standard, and I don't want to pick on Youngstown either. It has not been the standard in many communities, in many places, to do complete removal of foundations. But what we have learned the hard way here is when you don't take out the foundation, things that are allowed to be dropped into the hole will work their way to the surface over time. And it might be cinder block, and it might be a rolled up big old Chinese rug. All sorts of things, we have witnessed. So that's why our board said, spend the money if we have it, remove the foundations, because we're trying to queue things up to make it easier to redevelop later. So it's all taken out. And that would be the same mode, if DOD comes back and says, yeah, we've got $9.5 million for you for the next round of demolitions, we will do the same thing. It was the last program, NIP, that instructed any of its participants to do something with the surface of the land afterward. And I think we've lived through that also, right? The city has had to operate from a sense of economy in doing demolitions. And so they would drop a bad house, and there wasn't really a lot of attention paid afterward. Well, when Mother Nature takes over in a very random way, it can be pleasing or it can be displeasing depending on, what's happening in that area. So we had to at least throw down grass seed, and we did that. But we were also able to aggregate some of that money, and we did create some pocket parks. We did something on basically every side of the city that was an elevated greening strategy. And sometimes in neighborhoods, we did it, or in sides of the city, we did it several times. We'd like to do that again. But we also recently decided that, and we do have the support of the city on this, we're not going to do grass. If DOD gives us this next award, we're not going to plant grass, we're going to plant clover because it's a more manageable strategy. Clover doesn't grow 4 feet high, right? It spreads out. It can't get high enough that it needs to be cut, but not at the same frequency as grass. It's a little bit more environmentally productive. You know, it will promote some pollination. Sam, maybe not as much pollination as some other things, but there will be some pollination happening with clover. And it just, we've done it on a trial basis in many situations. Where you have rough contours of property, clover will soften that. And there was a day that when we were first tinkering with clover, it was in Briar Hill. And it was red clover. And there was one day that my colleague and I just wanted to check the whole thing out. We couldn't get out of Briar Hill. We tried, and every time we would try to get in the car and loop, somebody else would come by because there was so much of it blooming at the same time. They were just awestruck by the way that it looked. So yes, we have already said in our proposal, we will be planting clover, not grass. There will be some elevated greening, and that is going to depend on the location and what an elevated greening in that situation might do for that neighborhood or that retail district or whatever it may be. But yes, we're going to try to be a little bit more environmentally minded with this next round.
What about tree planting?
So thank you, Pete, for reminding me about that. Mahoney County Land Bank and Youngstown State University have been in a partnership for about 2 years now. We have made some of our property and inventory available for, it's Eastgate, is that what they called it? I'm sorry that I'm blanking out on the name, but the whole initiative about planting trees using students and university alums and volunteers and such.
Legacy Forest.
Thank you. Legacy Forest. Thank you so much. So one of the first places that occurred is actually over there along North Lane Avenue, where I motioned to that earlier. There's a portion closer to Oak Street / Rayan Avenue, because I know they like kind of converges right there. But there's a portion of that will not be developed because it's been set aside for Legacy Forest plantings, which YSU is managing right now. And I believe they're using some of our other property off of Wilson Avenue, somewhat across from that one, the auto place, Nikki Dattrey Enterprises. Auto wrecking, that's it, yeah. So across the street, you see evidence of another tree planting there. And we're very open to continuing to have that dialogue with YSU and the Legacy Forest organizers, because we do have some larger pieces of property where, endless grass mowing is not going to accomplish anything. So we would rather add to the tree canopy, use these as pilots for, what works, what doesn't work, what we need to fine tune to make it work. Yes, we are supporters of that. And thank you for asking about it.
The valley is a hardwood forest. For thousands of years, millions of years. I don't know how long.
Is-
Hardwood forest, that's what it is. It's like plant hardwoods. They'll probably survive. Probably climate, rainfall.
I leave the tree picking to Lauren Schroeder. He knows more about it than I do.
Hey Deb, is there anything protecting the parcels where the forests are planted upon so that they can't be developed?
So Legacy Forest wants, we have an agreement. I think they wanted a 99-year agreement, and I'm not sure we could do a 99-year agreement, but we do have an agreement in place. We're not marketing those properties. We do not intend to sell them to lease them to anyone else. We want those trees to have a chance to mature, and we want them to have the ability to show what it means to do these plantings. So Gary Davenport knows exactly what agreement we have in place, and I don't at the moment. But yes, there is an understanding between both sides that those are to be protected indefinitely. So
legacy forest land, like what we planted on North Pine Street was old Youngstown City demolition. So you were digging into foundation, you were digging crossway, it was forward. On the streets down. So the rest of the legacy stuff is gonna be removed foundations.
We probably should steer it that way, Lynn, you're right, because we didn't have anything to do with the demos on that portion of North Lane. And, just, we're justifying what I said earlier, those foundations over time can become problematic when you want to reimagine the life of a property. So, that would take us back to the map, right? Looking at where we're going. If this grant comes through, then we're gonna have a layer on the next map that shows where those next 550 demolitions in the city of Youngstown will occur. And again, it's a connect the dots situation, because if we're gonna, you can see portions of the south side where there's some concentration emerging, right? And around here, I think that there's more to the south side. Like if you go, the further down you go, Market, as you cross over Indianola, on some of the side streets, Avondale and Ravenwood and stuff, you would see some concentrations of blue there as well. And, I think that we could figure out where are opportunities, where maybe there'll be some infill housing, although I think it's pretty much down the road, and where there's just enough of a concentration where it's time to add something new to a neighborhood, a new feature, and something that makes the neighborhood feel more neighborhood-like, because some places don't have a lot of mature trees, or they don't have the type of mature trees that are surviving well. So yeah, we are constantly reevaluating what we have and what its future function could be. And so is that possible? Yes, it is definitely a possibility. And when you think about what city land bank holds and what the county land bank holds, and that those inventories are always changing, because the city land bank still acquires property also, possibilities are definitely there.
So I do see Mary on WebEx. You have your hand raised, so feel free to unmute and ask your question.
Okay. Hi, Deb. It's Mary Krupa.
Hi, Mary.
Hi. I've been going to meetings for years, and first of all, I wanted to compliment you on your leadership and achievements with what you've done and your group has done. It's great stuff. I wanted to mention that now that the crisis is over in Youngstown, so to speak, with many of the demolitions having been done, I never ever hear in all these years anybody, and I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying anybody in general who's convening to make decisions about the future of Youngstown, about the architectural value of our homes. We've already lost so many of our historic schools, where our memories were made. Generations went to those schools. We've just lost a historic church. We've lost many churches, but we also have some beautiful old homes that you'll never see the likes of again. And, other cities appreciate that sort of thing. You go and visit other cities because they have some, not just nice downtowns and outdoor cafes and other things, oceans or whatever, but you see very charming neighborhoods. And most of the time, those very charming neighborhoods are old. And Youngstown has that too. And I just wanted to throw out there that there's another aspect to all the development, redevelopment, demolition that we're doing, and that's to be aware of our historic architectural assets that we have here. And if there's any way that could be something to be considered before a home is torn down, if there's any way at all possible to save it because of the architectural beauty of that particular home, I'd like that to be part of any conversation. And I'm not talking just about mansions on Fifth Avenue. I'm talking about working class homes, little bungalows, post-war houses, arts and craftsman era houses, some late Victorian houses, the whole gamut. I mean, there's charm in a lot of that stuff. And I just want to throw that out there to help us preserve some of the beauty, the architectural beauty that is Youngstown, or that can be revived in some of our historic buildings. So thank you.
So Mary, I heard parts of what you said, and I'm just going to give you some bullet points to make sure that I'm staying on track. You're asking about, is there a conversation about the future of Youngstown? You're asking if we're talking about architectural respect for housing and trying to preserve some of that good architecture and what it means for the community at large. Am I hitting the right notes there?
You're right on, Deb. Exactly. I just want consideration to be had for before a house is demolished, that, you know, if it is architecturally pleasing or significant, that is taken into consideration. Because I've seen a lot of beautiful homes that have been demolished, and it's like, why didn't they do the one next door instead of this one? You know, that sort of thing. That one next door is just ugly, but this one was a beautiful brick type house, whatever.
Got it. Okay. So I've been involved in this stuff in one way or another for 16 years now. And when there was a predecessor organization to the land bank, and that is where I started this work. And back then it just felt like we always had our hair on fire, right? Not just the land, but anybody else in the city. We just ran around with our hair on fire because back then, you know, the count of vacant, abandoned, beat up, expensive to repair housing, it was 4,500. And that was an estimate, but it was 4,500 and made us a leader in the worst way in the nation. And, you know, a lot of hand wringing about what do we do about it. And it took a while for some things to come together to start to address it. The sad reality, Mary, was that because we were running from behind, it was too late for a number of houses. I can't tell you how many times I would pull up to a house because we'd be looking at it for the first time, and I'd be really excited at what I thought I saw on the outside. And then you got inside and your stomach just turned because you just saw so much devastation on the inside that, and Mary, I'm not going to say that we've been just perfect in every decision that we made when it came to demo, but I will tell you, we have shown some houses to people because we really didn't want to tear them down. They might have been on the edge of Wick Park or something like that. And we knew they came out of an era that will not be easily replicated. And we wanted somebody to love them as much as we did, right? And people were willing to look at them, but they weren't willing to invest in them once they saw the scope of the work. A total new HVAC, a total new roof, which is not inexpensive on a century-old house when you're trying to preserve its historical character and nature, right? When you needed one of everything from that house, when you were seeing it from the inside out, but not only the outside in, it just became really expensive propositions. And I know that the land bank was not in a position then to take a house like that and to just hold on to it indefinitely. And I don't think the city had the appetite for it either. And we've had losses. You're right. We've lost some nice stuff along the way. I would say that the good news is, because I'm repeating myself here, we're reaching the end of the backlog, right? Which means it puts the city and all of its partners in operating in a real-time mode more when we notice vacancy and abandonment occurring. It puts us in the position of getting to it sooner rather than later, before all of those elements are destroyed and it needs one of everything to make it whole and attractive and lovable again. And I want to see those resources swing that way. We have a little bit more work to do to be there, but I applaud you for keeping the conversation alive, because I think this is an important time for that conversation. Because if we're going to cross that finish line, then let's talk now about what is the next race to be run. And it is to not let these things fall into a state of disrepair and then remain there indefinitely. Very little good will come of that. We need to be more proactive. And I'm happy that I think I see that day coming, right? But we're still gonna need the resources also. And there are people who know historic preservation far better than I do. And we need them at the table also, so that not only can they talk about the why, but the how we're going to accomplish it. Because it's going to take money that is not in big supply here right now, but we're gonna need to know where to get it to make those things happen. It is a significant time. It's not too early to have those conversations, and to build the enthusiasm for it so that that becomes the primary goal here. And the Land Bank would love to be a partner in that. And through the Land Bank Association, we'll not be the only community that will want to see historic preservation. And there are people who are doing it right now in other county land banks. They can be allies of ours.
Yeah. Well said, Deb. Thanks.
Thanks, Mary. Sam?
Deb, so you mentioned your partnership with YNDC and the housing renovations and how, the property values increase and you can see it when you go by, like what a significant impact it makes for the entire neighborhood to have a YNDC house. I'm curious if YNDC and Mahoney County Land Bank have kind of a long-term plan of action for neighborhood stabilization, to, offset the negative impact of increased housing values for people who live in the neighborhoods now.
So we've started a conversation, I don't know, Hunter, in the last 5 or 6 months about where does the city foresee new housing construction nearer term, right? So we're talking about, where do those opportunities exist and what do we do right now to ensure that those opportunities can take place? And so that means talking about neighborhoods and characteristics and, what's going on with the housing market in those areas? What can we do to enhance that? So yes, within the last 6 months, and it is YNDC and the Land Bank and the city. And do we have another partner at the table just yet? Probably going to.
Two
but-
other banks.
Yeah.
YMBC.
Right. So yes, toward having a longer term plan about stabilization, I see that as being a key component of it. I see that the many conversations around greening, they're slowly coming together, and I think that they will, because you have the Rotary Club of Youngstown interested in pollination and greening. I hear a lot of talk about tree canopy. And if we can bring those things together, not that everybody has to do it out of one organization, but that there's just collaboration among all of those interests so that it amounts to something measurable, not only along corridors, but into the heart of neighborhoods. So small step forward, right? I know it's going to take a lot more than that, but yes, we are talking about where do we go from here? Imagining the day that demolition doesn't rule the day and we
Right.
can do other things
Yeah,
at a higher level.
When you recall, a number of years ago, YMBC worked with Malik to identify the sort of strengths of various neighborhoods. So one place we're looking at those areas that have more strength that's got to be updated on the census. It isn't that far. Other aspects of the assets around which housing work. Key assets we have. People tend to want to live near parks and have frolics. Now let's just look at different valuations close to it. Parks are anchored. So where are there sites near parks? Parks are all over town. Not necessarily seen as an anchor. So that gets you to things like, well, the neighborhood around the John White, like around the park up in the north part of the east side, neighborhood's pretty weak. Right around the park is pretty strong. There are a few vacant properties, excellent properties on the park, so those have the possibility of actually, because the next door park is actually been renovated, the city hopes to use a chunk of its ARP money to further renovation. John White is a delightful park with a walking trail around. Don't build off of that asset. Look at your assets in each neighborhood. How can you leverage those assets?
So, so I guess my question is then, though, how do we plan for potential gentrification induced displacement? Because when you better the parks, when you better the homes, then, residents who are living in poverty in those neighborhoods could be priced out theoretically as the values rise. So I just didn't know if there's any partnerships formed in preparation of those, let's say consequences.
One of the big issues is new housing costs. Or you have to balance new housing with cost of renovation.
Yeah.
Try to maintain that affordability. We have about 65,000 parcels in the city of Venice. So we're still a whole challenge that is identified in the YPC housing report. It's not so much the absence of housing, it's the absence of standard quality. So bringing up this quality of housing stock growth with part of the strategy.
The do-it-yourself housing program that we have, I want it to be a way to keep affordable housing available to people. And when you are someone who has a certain level of skills, you do painting and carpeting and you can fix the plumbing and stuff like that. Those housing opportunities are very attractive. If there's a weakness right now to our do-it-yourself program, it's that we don't have a financing mechanism for someone who maybe has the skills, but not the cash on hand to buy all of the supplies. And we've tried to be very accommodating in the way that people present their financial ability to take on those projects. It's still a challenge right now, Sam, to find a lender who's willing to lend at a level under $50,000. And that's where, when it comes to our deed and escrow houses, a lot of those projects are coming in under $50,000. So we have a gap there that we still need to fill, because in that situation, and I know that I have a friend who lives in that John White neighborhood, and if you've never driven back there and looked at the quality of those houses, you should, because there's so many stories to tell about Youngstown and the quality of housing. People make a lot of assumptions, right? But you really need to drive it to understand it and respect it. But that would be a great neighborhood where you'd want to see a number of opportunities, right? You'd want to see YNDC take on one house that maybe empties out so that it's market ready, but we'd want to have another one too as a deed and escrow, so that there's some balance to what's happening in that situation. Deed and escrow is a great program, but it's got that one missing piece right now. If you're not that liquid, then it doesn't work for you, and we're not a lender in that sense.
Right.
I get phone calls all the time as if we are a lending institution, and I have to explain that we're not. But I really do wish that we could fill in that missing piece. Yeah.
I think the difference today is that if you put 25, 30,000 into a house, revitalizable, that it's going to be worth more than that. Back in the turn of the century, you could put $50,000 into a house and you still couldn't get 25 for it when you sold it, because the house, nobody wanted to live in that neighborhood. But today, because of all the people have been showing up to work for the last 20, 25 years and getting, and piece by piece, parcel by parcel, taking care of their job and doing stuff. Now we have, I did when I was in school, back in the like 2002, 03 era, I drove up Lucius Avenue, which is about halfway between Indianola and Midlothian on the south side, from Pemberton Park all the way to Hillman Street. And over 50% of the houses were gone. They were just the property status, not I'm not looking at tax delinquency, I'm not looking at vacancy or just the property, the building itself wasn't worth fixing. Over 50%. But you can drive Lucius Avenue today and that's not the case. That's not the case. Maybe I'll take that trip. Do a little survey myself because it was 52, 53% back then. And now I know it is. And I know it is. It's not the most beautiful neighborhood in the world, but it's, you know, maybe 5% now, probably, or 8%. Who knows? But I know the houses that are what need to be gone are gone. Or they were fixed up. And I don't know why I picked that street, but that's the street I picked. And probably Ravenwood or Auburndale or any of them could have. But that one went from a good distance across the south side. Then in 05, the hurricane hit New Orleans and they were showing that 9th ward. And I said, man, that aerial photograph looks exactly like the 6th ward in Youngstown.
Right.
Only it took 5 days to do it in New Orleans and it took 50 years to do it in Youngstown, you know, and back then that's what it did. It looked exactly the same. So I think Deb did a wonderful, I mean, what the job they did and Ian's what back then was an intern at the planning department in the city, you know, and I was a contractor for the city and they, all of us took our own way about it, but we did make the changes, I think, to even people that came to work and complained about it, didn't really know what they were doing, but they showed up and Karen Perkins did a great job at that land bank for many years and kicked and screamed the whole time, but she did it. She showed up and she did it. It was, but yeah, the city is a lot better shape today than it was 25 years ago.
We did have one more comment from Pete Milliken coming into the chat. He said, whenever the city opens McKelvey Lake as a recreational asset, that can spur more interest in housing rehab and new construction in that area. So I think that's a comment added to the development strength of parks.
Okay. Deb, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. You're more than welcome to stay. We're going to try to scoot through the rest of our agenda. The next item on your agenda, Justin, you want to, Samantha, you were at the general policy board meeting.
Yes.
Anybody that attended have any comments about the general policy board meeting that was last month?
Of course, I can't remember.
Yeah, it was a bit of time ago.
So long ago.
Yeah, a lot of the content that was presented at that meeting was from the staff here at Eastgate to our policy board. A lot of the topics that get covered at the TAC and the CAB, so stuff that you're pretty familiar with. The one big highlight, I think, was that out of this board's actions was the discussion on tree planting policy, which was included in the CAB's report to the communities. So, you know, there was some movement there. We were able to get that information out, specifically those recommendations that we put together. And, you know, thanks to Lynn for kind of leading that effort for this board, getting that into that report. Yeah, other than that, the next policy board meeting is scheduled for September 5th. If anybody is interested in attending, feel free to let me know and I'll make sure to get the information over to you for that.
Thank you. Justin, do you have any comments on today's TAC meeting?
Yeah, I'll try and run through real quick. And everything that I cover here will be in the meeting summary. So if there's something you're interested in, feel free to look into that. There's going to be links thrown in there as well, so for additional information. But at the TAC, we started off with the fiscal year 2023 Appalachian Regional Commission pre-application process and program updates, where Kathy Sook, who manages that program, provided an update on applications to the state of Ohio's ARC funding and the review process for those projects. She had mentioned that a resolution with the projects that would be recommended for funding would be available next month, so keep an eye out for that. And then her other big news update was that the governor of Ohio recently signed a $500 million commitment for new state Appalachian funding. Kathy's going to work with local communities, set up some workshops to help explain the details of the program and develop project ideas. The project should be regional and transformational. That's something that the state is really pushing and emphasizing for this program. And full program details will be released by the state within the next few weeks. We don't have the full details of that just yet. Up next was the Eastgate Economic Development Program update. Mark Ragazine announced that the draft version of the Regional Economic Recovery Coordination Plan is available on Eastgate's website. I'll have that linked in there. You can submit comments if you review that document and you see anything that you would like to comment on. You can submit those directly to Mark via email. He also mentioned that USEDA provided the Western Reserve Port Authority with an MFC letter for their Youngstown Regional Airport Southside Development Plan, which is a positive next step towards them receiving grant funding for that project. And lastly, he covered the Lake to River Regional Broadband Fiber Line Project. That is being included in Broadband Ohio's application to the NTIA Middle Mile Broadband Infrastructure Program. So that's kind of a big deal. The state is taking it upon themselves to apply for broadband infrastructure funding. And they have signified to us that they are including this project idea in that application. And because we are so far ahead of the game in terms of other applicants throughout the state, there's a very good chance that that project becomes a reality and receives funding, and we'll see implementation in the near future. Myrna Reyes-Chapman, our transit program manager, then provided an update on the fiscal year 23 to 27 transit development program. The final report is available. I'll add the link to our website where you can see that document. In the meeting summary, the TDP is a short-range 5-year transit plan. So it looks at owning in Trumbull County transit operations. All the dirty details and nitty-gritty is in that document. It's a really great read if you're interested in transit. Following that up, the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan update specific to project solicitation. So this is something that Stephen Zubik from our office handles on the project side. So in terms of transportation, this is where we ask communities to send us their project information looking out to the year 2050. So to dream big and think about all of the projects that they would like to complete in that time frame. The key aspect of this is that those have to be based in reality. So they have to be somewhat achievable. They have to fit within the funding confines that we as an agency will receive over that time period. So there's a little bit of work there to be done, and you know, we kind of put that out to the communities to get in touch with us, and we'll help them along the way to develop those ideas. The interesting part about this is I think there's a great opportunity from the community side where you can talk to your council people, your township trustees, or your commissioners, and let them know what projects you think they should complete by 2050. So if you have transportation ideas, take that to those folks in your respective communities and let them know that this is the chance. If projects aren't in this plan, generally they cannot receive funding through our agency. So it's really important to do a very comprehensive job and really think carefully about what your community would like to pursue.
So it says August 31st is the submittal deadline. Is that just like for a brief or a proposal or like a whole fleshed out?
So the good news is these aren't funding applications. These are just ideas.
Okay.
All we're asking for communities is to have the idea, have a timeline, and have a general rough cost, what they think. So no engineer's estimate, no detailed design or anything like that. So a little easier to put together than a full project application.
Right. Okay.
And the final project list will be presented to both the TAC and the CAB in November for review. And then in December, we'll present that to the policy board. So at the end of this year, you can look forward to seeing all of the projects that come in through this process and taking a look and see what the communities had submitted. After that, Stephanie Dyer gave an update on the 208 plan. She's been working on a new update where she has scaled the document down to be more manageable while still continuing to meet all the requirements. And the documents also become a little more interactive, where she has connected external resources and other websites for additional context to what she's talking about. I'll link that document in the notes. And she is asking for comments on that document to be submitted to her by email by August 8th. So a little bit of time there to dig into the 208 plan. And the 208 plan, just to explain a little bit, is our wastewater quality. So all of our wastewater kind of planning areas and prescription language and anything to do with kind of sewer service. That even includes septic regulations too. So all of that is in the 208. Up next is the air quality conformity report. So you'll see this on the CAB agenda today in a couple of different sections. I'll cover all of the information here, and if anybody has any questions, let me know. But you'll also find it in the board discussion, and the one resolution before the board today is regarding this. So this is a formality, it's a process that we have to go through regarding our transportation projects. So this specific air quality conformity process is related to our last metropolitan transportation plan, not the one we're currently. So it's our 2040 MTP update. The reason for that being is that our MTP process is on a 5-year cycle. The air quality conformity is on a 4-year cycle. So it doesn't quite match up, and we have to do this formality a couple times within the update cycles of that document. The good news is that the last time this air quality conformity was done, there have been no new capacity adding transportation projects added to our plan. So our air quality conformity stays the same. The only time we have to rerun that modeling and rerun the numbers is if new capacity is added through any transportation projects. So this is a pretty easy one. It was approved the last time. It went through the 45-day comment cycle with Ohio EPA. It was found to be compliant with their rules and regulations. This is the exact same thing, just a matter of formality because of time. So that's kind of why it's brought back up before all of our boards for review and approval. But that is kind of like a big deal, and you will be seeing the same exact thing, just kind of rerun with new information for our 2050 MTP. So probably in the spring sometime, you'll see another very similar resolution for that same kind of topic, just with the new projects. And lastly, at the TAC was an update on the Eastgate Regional Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan progress. So Grant Taylor's been handling that for us, and he provided some information on the status of the bike plan development, specifically the public survey, which has seen over 80 responses, which is great so far, especially because we haven't really done a major in-person push for public engagement yet. We're still planning to do that possibly in the spring, and maybe a little bit in the fall, depending on what opens up for us. But that survey is still open. You'll see it linked in the agenda as well as in the meeting summary. If anybody hasn't taken it yet or has new ideas, feel free to take it as many times as you want. We're still filtering through all of the responses, which have been great so far, and provided kind of a little mini overview of what we've seen, as well as a little demonstration on some new data analysis in regards to updating our bike map. So before we would kind of take our functional class roads, which are the roads that are eligible for federal funding, and rate those based on kind of ease of ride. So if you're a beginner cyclist, if you're intermediate, if you're advanced, what roads fit best in those categories? Grant has taken this to a whole other level and brought in a ton more data to have a more data-informed process for developing this type of information. So really running through a level of traffic stress analysis to dig down and get more specific than just at the functional class level. We're actually going to include nearly all of our roads in the 2-county area. So a lot of great stuff coming out of that, and that'll eventually turn into our new bike map, as well as some additional tools that will come out of this process. That is everything we talked about at 10.
Circling back to your first item, and something that, well, thank you, Jim. A lot of our local governments deal with this DR. They received a significant funding injection. And as hopefully they expanded eligibility, But as the guidance comes out, and some of the new rules come out, we'll have Kathy address. Under board discussion, the census, no, I'm sorry.
I just got a question. That 208 plan does that cover combined sewage overflow?
Let me dig back through my knowledge. I don't believe so. I'll check with Stephanie on that. My initial thought is that it's not in there, but I'll double check for you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, under board discussion, Justin provided a link to the CAP census. It only takes a couple minutes to fill out for those who haven't filled it out as yet. We talked about the air quality. Board member application preparation, please promote our group. Try to pass out an application or two to some of your friends and your cohorts. And please, all members, let's get our application for renewal for 2023 completed and submitted as soon as possible. We only have one resolution for passage. Justin, if you just want to rehash that really quick.
Yeah, like I described before, this is that formality of passing the resolution because of the timeline for the air quality conformity determination for our last metropolitan transportation plan.
You'll set up for the roll call.
Yeah, I will send that out to the board members as a survey like we've been doing. It seems to be working okay, and I think we're getting a bit better response from the whole board doing it that way. So.
Under announcements, Eastgate, on the agenda, Justin provided a couple of links to a couple of surveys for the broadband survey and for the walk and bike public survey. Does anybody have any other announcements they would like to make?
I do have one small announcement, some personal news. So some of you may be aware, but Joanne is retiring at the end of this year, so at the end of December. And they have offered me the position to take Director of Planning and Development. So I will be moving into that role for the next 6 months. Oh, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So for the next 6 months, I'll be the assistant director, shadowing Joanne, picking up, the wealth of knowledge that she has accumulated over her years of service, and then stepping into that role starting in January. So nothing will change here, but just some behind the scenes things.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Craig.
You're going to shadow work. That means you're going to be on a golf course a little bit more. With that in mind, if there's no more comments.
A quick one. Hello?
Yeah, go for it, Pete.
Is that
Hi, this is Phil Pegg, Vienna Township trustee. One of the things that have occurred, and I wanted to bring it to your attention, is that some of the townships, including Vienna, has set aside ARP funds for the broadband initiative. The concern from the townships here are that the money from the state will not come in time before the ARP funds expire. An example is Weathersfield Township put aside $1,500, and we're, just earmarking that money. Vienna Township, we put aside $5,000. Just a concern, again, that if the money does not get here in time, we lose those funds. So just to bring that to your attention.
Yeah, thank you for that comment, Phil. I believe I have your email address, so I will connect you with Mark Ragazine, and we'll kind of talk that through and make sure any concerns you have get addressed and figure out the best solution.
Thank you.
If I could borrow just a couple more minutes of your time, this is Sarah Lowry, and I just wanted to make sure that folks were aware that there are a series of meetings coming up related to the community health assessment that Mahoning and Trumbull counties have been working on with the public health departments, the mental health and recovery boards, and the Healthy Community Partnership and Mercy Health. The first of the taking the data collected through the assessment and turning that into a plan meetings is this Sunday in the evening from 5 to 7. There are flyers floating around, and I'll make sure that Justin gets those to share with all of you. That first meeting this upcoming Sunday is really focused on gathering community input and feedback first before any other stakeholder conversations to, again, look at the data connected to the priorities and figure out what strategies or actions do we need to take as a community to improve health in the 3 areas that were risen to the top as priorities, and that is mental health and substance use, community conditions and safety, which is looking at social and environmental factors that are impacting health, and then access to care. So that first meeting is this upcoming Sunday. And then each of those priorities have their own meeting set aside for stakeholders to engage in strategy and action development. And I will make sure that Justin has those dates, times, and locations. All of the meetings have an in-person location in Mahoning and an in-person location in Trumbull. And there's also a virtual option for folks to join and participate in that way. Really important to make sure that as many stakeholders engage in this process as possible, as we're really trying to make the case that health is, and to be a healthy community, we need everybody on board, not just public health and healthcare. So if any of those things are of interest, like I said, I'll make sure Justin has the appropriate information for the upcoming meetings, and I do hope that some of you are able to participate.
Thank you, Sarah. Any other comments? You're adjourned. Showing up, Warren.
Thank you.
Remember how the